can see just how horrifying this was for that family fleeing the area, Maui, Lahaina, Maui, trying to get to some sort of shelter. Billy's going to talk about that. But again, we also want to share with
So evacuations were in effect for North Fairways at Mauna Kea, villas at Mauna Kea Resort sheltering in place. EMS is on site providing care. So once again, these are all the conditions that are existing right now on both Maui and Hawaii Island.
And we're keeping an eye on any new developments. We are asking for folks, if you've got video, please send that into our newsroom if you can do it safely. And, so this is something Chelsea said. I wanted to make this point because it's a really good thought. Change your voicemail. If you don't have cell service, but if you can somehow access your voicemail, you can change your voicemail to have your name, your number, say the date, and that you're okay. That way, if your family's calling you, it'll go to the voicemail. They'll have at least an idea that you are safe somewhere, even though they can't reach you. Something good to think about. And
the other thing is, on the island of Maui, there's a lot of angst between the residents because they don't know where other family members are. So just a reminder, Red Cross wants to help you. 1-800-RED-CROSS. You can call that number. Make sure you have the information of the people that you're trying to find so that way they can help you best they can. Let's get you back over to Steve and Grace.
Yeah. And again, that press conference coming up at 10.
All right, we have new video into our newsroom that we want to share with you from Lahaina Harbor. You can see the massive plume of smoke from shore yesterday. Now, the boat was sailing away as it took this video. The captain tells us that he had been on his way to Hawaii Island from Lanai when yesterday's winds forced him to take refuge on Maui. He quickly needed to escape from the heat and ash. We've been hearing from multiple people that many boats burned last night, and the governor also confirmed that 14 people required rescue out of the water after they jumped into the ocean from the shore in order to escape the flames from the Lahaina front.
All right, so take a look at this photo sent in of Pulehu Road around 4:30 p.m. yesterday. As you can see, that fire engulfed the entire side of the road. Pulehu Road is a long road on Maui that extends from Kahului up the side of Haleakala.
Now, we also understand that tourists are being evacuated from Maui to Oahu at this hour. Sources tell us that upwards of 4,000 of them are being flown, possibly to stay at the Hawaii Convention Center to take refuge.
Yeah, so this is going to help clear Kahului Airport, where about 1,800 people had sheltered in place overnight. And our Daryl Huff just landed at the airport in Kahului.
He did manage to speak to some tourists who spent the night there. Listen to this.
We came in last night to go to the Grand Hyatt, found out it was all closed and we couldn't get to it. Their power was down, and so we ended up sleeping in our rental car because there were no hotel rooms on the island. So we tried to get it switched today to go home today, but they were like, we don't have anything till Saturday. So we were like, okay, we'll just go over to Kauai for the next 3 days.
After the power went out due to Hurricane Dora, I decided it'd be a good idea for my husband and I to leave Lahaina. And as we were passing the Lahaina bypass, they were shutting it down due to wildfires. And a drive that normally takes 45 minutes took 4 hours, and we spent the night here with about 1,200 people. And now we're waiting for our air crew to come, and hopefully we'll be in Vancouver this evening. Tired, and I'm sad for Hawaii, sad for the wonderful people we met and that beautiful town. Very sad.
Just a quick note that we do know that United has canceled 4 Maui flights, 3 from LAX and 2 from SFO.
Yeah. By the way, stay with us for our breaking news coverage. It will continue till 10 o'clock. And again, that press conference with both state and county officials coming up. We'll be right back.
red flag warning that's posted for many areas across the state. And that's because we've got gusty winds, we've got low humidity levels, we've got lots of fuel out there, and there's a lack of rainfall that we've seen for the last several weeks, right? And there are the winds. You can see them already pretty windy. Not as windy as yesterday at the peak of this wind event, but it's very windy out there. Now, these winds are expected to continue to some extent at very windy conditions for the next several days, but they are in the process of slowing down ever so slightly. Of course, rain would be the ultimate remedy, the ultimate fix for all of this, but there's just not much out there, especially for the leeward areas like Lahaina, like Kihei. We're going to get some overnight and early morning showers over the next several days along the Hana Highway, but that's not where the issue is, right? We got some lower level clouds out near Kipahulu right now and out towards Ulupalakua, but this is an area that is of concern because there could be more brush fires. There are fires still burning in and around the Kihei area, and with those strong winds, the fires could be ignited again and they could be spread out. So there's lots of smoke. There's air quality issues for Lahaina and for West Maui as well. Now for Hawaii Island, we're still seeing some fires up near Kauai High, up near the Kohala area, and that's not an area likely to get any rain anytime soon. Plus, even though the winds are lighter in Kona and Hilo, there's a funnel right here. These mumuku winds come right down through here and really increase in speed, and that's why the fires in the Kohala area have been spread so very quickly. But for now, you just got to take precautions for as long as you can. These red flag fire warning conditions will likely continue through the day. Now let's check on traffic. Lacey?
And we showed you those road closures on Maui over on the west side of the island, guy. But let's head over to the upcountry neighborhood because we've got several closures in place for the brush fire in the area. The latest from Maui County, they tell me that Pulehu Road shut down between Oma'opio all the way over to Kula Highway. So that's a couple miles of roadway that's shut down there. And a large section of Haleakala Highway blocked off between Kula Highway to Lower Kimo Drive, and then again Kulalani Drive over to Kualono Place. So we'll let you know when those roads are able to reopen. And like Guy had mentioned, we're still tracking the brush fire over in the Kohala area on the island of Hawaii. Couple of closures to mention: Queen Ka'ahumanu Highway between the Westin Hapuna entrance over to Kauai High Road, and also Akonipule Highway still shut down. Steve Grace, back over to you.
All right, thanks, Lacey. Thanks, Guy. Joining us now live is Napua Greg, a renowned musician, kumuhula, who is on Maui in the upcountry area.
Kumu, we know you're in Pukalani. Can you tell us how you have been affected and the people around you as well?
Aloha. I live in Kula here on Maui in Waiopuli, the Hawaiian homes specifically. And, there's a fire above us in Olinda. There's a fire below us on Pulehu. Thankfully, the Waiopuli homestead has so far been spared. Last night was a bit scary, as we can see the fire approaching. The high winds is making it really difficult for our firefighters. I imagine my son is a heavy equipment operator, and so those operators are out there building firewalls. There's so many people in our community putting their lives at risk to try and keep communities safe and to contain these fires. The town of Lahaina is just devastated. I don't think we've seen anything like this in our lifetime. And so we just, my heart just aches for our entire island.
Yeah, Napua, I can only imagine what you're going through, what your neighbors are going through. Your son is doing some dangerous but incredibly important work, so we thank him for that. Can you give us a sense of what the entire community is going through? I mean, it's your area, it's what Lahaina is dealing with, and there's just so much uncertainty, and the conditions aren't dying down. So, what is the community feeling at this point?
I think there's a lot of the fear is being magnified by the lack of communication. One, there's fires everywhere, but our electricity is out. So we have no Wi-Fi in our area. Right now I'm at Kahului Airport. So that's why you hear the speaker, the announcements here. But there's no Wi-Fi in our area. And in Lahaina, there's no phone communication. So many people are trying to reach their family members in Lahaina, and there's no communication with them by phone or otherwise in and out. And so, trying to locate them, there's text messages going back and forth. I haven't seen, if you look on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see pictures like, have you seen my sister? I haven't heard from her from the afternoon, and we don't know where she is. And so this morning we're waking up to like, where are they? With people not being able to drive in to Lahaina. There's a lot of the emotions are heavy and high this morning here on Maui.
We know it is emotionally difficult, and so many across the state and really across the nation are worried about you and your community. We wanted to ask you, though, I know communication has been poor, but have you heard of people who have had to escape from Lahaina or upcountry, and can you share any of their experiences with us today?
So, some of my students have had to evacuate their homes, and I'm like, they're just grabbing their pets and their most valuable, people. It's hard to think. Last night we were faced with that. Like, what do we take? Passports, your valuables, the dogs, like what are the necessities you take when you have to evacuate? One of my students were like, Kumu, I don't know what my house looks like because when I left, the fire was in my yard. So we don't know what it looks like today. So, they're safe, thankfully. Thankfully, our prayer is always that lives are not lost, because you just cannot replace lives. But we just pray for the safety of our community. There are shelters, thankfully our mayor and all of our county officials are organizing their shelters set up out of these areas. So Lahaina, Hula, Kihei, those shelters have been moved to the Kahului area. I know Maui High School is a shelter to get our community members out of those affected areas.
Again, we're speaking to Napua Greg, renowned musician, Kumu Hula. You said you live in Kula, Kumu, but just your thoughts, someone that knows the area, that lives there as well. I'm sure you've seen some of the images, if not all of them at this point, but what goes through your mind having lived through it and seeing the extent of all the damage?
It's devastating, but I'm hopeful that one thing I know that it takes a challenge to see the real strength of our community, and I have great faith in this community. We're a close-knit community here on Maui, and people already reaching out. Like, we will do whatever it takes to lift up Lahaina, to lift up our neighbors in Hula, to make sure everybody is taken care of. We feel very confident in our county leadership. I'm here at the airport, and let me tell you, I've never seen Kahului Airport more organized and efficient. And so I have great faith in the leadership and in all levels, and believe that we will come out of this stronger and more knowledgeable and just greater, is my thoughts.
Yeah, Napua, since you mentioned you are at the Kahului Airport, I wanted to ask you about the atmosphere there. Are they able to get people off island? And is that why you're there as well?
Like I said, I've never seen this airport more organized. The only difference I see is there is no TSA pre-check line, but they're moving. They're organized in a very efficient way, so that the TSA line is moving very quickly, and they're getting people through very quickly. And so there's no chaos. Everything is orderly here. The airport doesn't look as crowded actually as it normally is. And no, I'm en route to Japan, and it's a trip that I was scheduled to make before. And so last night, I did consider calling off this trip because of what's happening here. And not because of I feel confident that my home is okay and that my family members are okay. I want to stay because I know my community is going to need the help, but we're not sure yet when we're going to be allowed in to Lahaina or into the affected areas to be able to help. So I decided I'll go now to do my work in Japan, and when I return on Monday, we're going to be ready to roll up our sleeves and dig in and do what work is required to rebuild our communities.
Yeah, Napua, we appreciate your strength and your positivity. Greatly appreciated this morning.
All right.
Mahalo nui.
Stay safe out there. We'll be thinking of you and your community. All right, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Care resort. Maui County has been worse off for the last several days, last couple weeks actually. We've got severe drought for the south side. This is where that Kihei fire is burning. And where the Lahaina fire is burning, they're suffering from moderate drought. Now the bad news is that whatever rain comes in over the next several days is going to hit the windward side, not going to hit these very dry, drought-stricken areas. Now, for us, remember, we're also under a red flag fire warning. So our leeward side is abnormally dry. So is the south side. And for Kauai, they're almost drought-free. Now, there's not much rain, no significant rain coming in anytime soon, especially for those very dry neighborhoods affected by the fires in Lahaina, as well as up towards the Kauai High area. So no significant rainfall for Kauai, although East Maui might pick up some showers. And today, Maui County is going to be the windiest of any place around the state. Lacey, how's the traffic looking?
And traffic is being allowed out of Lahaina, Guy. An update from the Department of Transportation for anyone trying to get to the airport from Lahaina. They're asking drivers to use the bypass road instead, bypass or Kahekili. Here's the latest update from the DOT as of 8 o'clock this morning. So just know if you're trying to get out of Lahaina over to the airport, you will be allowed to do so. Now, traveling into Lahaina town, that's a different story. No vehicles are being allowed in with the exception of emergency vehicles. I want to head up to the upcountry neighborhood because we still have multiple road closures in place here. That includes Pulehu Road, section of Haleakala Highway from Kula to Lower Kimo Drive. That's the latest on your first alert traffic right here on Sunrise.
County officials. They said, quote, in a press release, there have been no changes in containment for the Lahaina, Pulehu, and upcountry fires. So we do know that the wind continues to burn and whip up those fires, which has been a huge problem throughout the overnight hours and early morning.
I want to read this update as well. This has been confirmed by our Lynn Kawano that HFD is setting up a command group of 20 volunteers from HFD to assist MFD in their situation and their valiant efforts out there on Maui as well.
Yeah, so thousands have been evacuated not only to shelters, but also to the airport. We know some are being moved to Oahu. They're just trying to get people to safety while they get their resources to these fires that, again, have not been contained so far.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. We're going to get to Chelsea Davis live on Maui in just a second. Right now, though, let's talk about those winds, because that's really what fueled this and made this fire that much more devastating. Here's Guy Huggy. Guy?
Yeah, it might be hard to connect the dots, but we're blaming Hurricane Dora for all of this because Hurricane Dora, as it passed by, sucked very strong winds into it. We've been talking about this for the last several days, and we've been talking about the fire threat even longer than that the last couple of weeks. So for today, it'll be a first alert weather day with that red flag fire warning continue. There could be more power outages. The fire danger is high. You think of a downed tree knocking down a power line, and that could spark a fire. I'm not saying that's what happened in this case, but that could happen today. The winds will slow down sometime late today, but still going to be very breezy. Now, the ultimate fix for all the fires, rain. But look at this. There's not much rain out there. It seems that Dora, with all its rain, is going to stay very far away, and there's no real moisture field associated with Dora that's going to come anywhere close. So if anything, windward sides over the next several days might pick up a few light showers in the overnight and early morning hours. Of course, that doesn't help us out any because the fires are burning in most leeward areas like Kihei, like Lahaina, as well as over in the where Mauna Kea Resort is. So again, a first alert weather day today. The fire threat is highest, and slowly things should ease up as we head into the weekend. But still, it's going to be dry and it's going to be sunny with those breezy winds. Lacey?
Of course, keeping a close eye on all the closures on the island of Maui. Guy, also keeping our eyes peeled to the island of Hawaii, where we have another brush fire, this one in the Kohala neighborhood, that has prompted a couple of road closures. Here's the latest from Hawaii Island Police and Hawaii County officials. Queen Ka'ahumanu Highway still shut down between Weston Hapuna, the entrance, over to Kauai High Road. In addition to that, a Konipule Highway blocked off between the 11.5-mile marker over to Kohala Ranch. Officials asking drivers to avoid a Konipule, instead head Mauka, go up to the Kohala Mountain Road area instead. We'll stay on top of this. We'll let you know as soon as those roads are able to reopen there on Hawaii Island. That's the latest on your first alert traffic. Steve Grace, back over to you.
All right. Thanks, Lacey. Thanks, Guy. We mentioned Chelsea. Chelsea Davis has been covering the wildfires for several hours now.
Yeah, and Chelsea, I don't know if you just heard from county officials, but they reported to us that there's been no change in containments for the Lahaina, Pulehu, and upcountry fires. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Grace, I did hear you say that. I actually can't see that fire from where I am right now because I'm in Ma'alaya, and I'm at the closest, safest place I can be to the wildfires that are raging in West Maui right now. But overnight, I live in Kahului. I did see that glow, and it did look like it was growing. It was very widespread. I know it broke out originally from Olinda, which is in between Kula and Makawao, and then we heard earlier from Kumuhula Napua Greg, who lives in Waiokuli, which is the Kula Hawaiian Homes area, that she says that the fire above her in Pulehu, below her in Olinda. So that, just for those who don't know the upcountry area or the Maui area geographically, that is a huge area. That is a huge chunk of the slopes of Haleakala. Now back here in Ma'alaya, as I mentioned, I'm the closest, safest place I can be to those wildfires in West Maui. And police, as you can see, have the area blocked off. They're not letting anyone through. But a little bit, some good news to report out here is that in the last 30 minutes, I have been seeing some private companies that have been allowed through. So like Goodfellow Brothers, West Maui Construction, and others, as well as Hawaiian Electric crews, they have all been allowed in. And that indicates good news to me because earlier, before this, only emergency vehicles, only fire and police were allowed to access this road, allowed to go onto the pali, onto the west side. They were the only ones allowed, just in the last 30 minutes or so, that has changed. So I want to say that is good news. It's safe enough for them at least to be out there to possibly repair the poles that are down, the fire lines, the power lines that are down, and the construction crews to be out there as well to help fire crews with whatever they need. But as you can see, the wind is still whipping. We've been talking about this all morning long, that this is the real tricky part, that if the winds continue to ramp up, that's what's going to really be fueling this fire and be really difficult for firefighters. And so occasionally, as I've been saying all morning, we will see it die down. It will occasionally be a lot calmer, and then all of a sudden a huge gust. So the wind has been really off and on here in Maui. Steve and Grace.
Chelsea, has communication opened up at all? I know there was a lot of concerns about people trying to get in touch with loved ones.
No, not that I've been hearing, not that I've experienced. It's still very difficult. I'm not sure if that's because the cell phone towers have burned or what exactly. I did also see Hawaiian Telecom crews heading out that way as well. So I think that is why it's been so difficult to call anyone or to get a hold of anyone out on the west side. As we've been saying, there is a news conference at 10 a.m. So I know that Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson is going to be a part of that news conference as well. And so hopefully he'll have a lot more details and he can update us on a lot more information.
Chelsea, we're looking at the helicopter video, and I know you spoke with the pilot earlier this morning. Can you share with us what he said to you while looking at the land this morning over Lahaina?
Yeah, he went up at like daybreak this morning, which was around 6 a.m., and he called me when he landed, and he said he just couldn't believe his eyes. He was lost for words. He said that Lahaina town is unrecognizable. Buildings have burnt down, businesses, structures. We don't have an exact number from county officials, but he says that it looked, we've been hearing residents compare it to an apocalypse, or he compared it to as if a bomb had gone off. It just, things completely obliterated down there.
And obviously you have a lot of family and friends there as well. Any stories of what people have gone through to really help us appreciate just the magnitude of these fires?
Yeah, I know we have video. I don't know if it's queued up right now, but it's really dramatic video of people in a car, and you can see those raging fires just on either side of them, and you can see just how widespread it is, with just structure after structure, home after home completely burned. And you can hear it in their voice if you listen to that video closely, of just how panicked, how scared they are. They're honking their horn. They're asking the people in front of them. They're yelling to go, go, go. It's so dramatic. It's so fearful. And when you see that video and when you watch it, it breaks my heart, because you can just see and feel and hear the panic for the people out there.
Yeah, Chelsea.
So many went through that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. The governor had confirmed that there were 14 people who were pulled out of the water because they had jumped in to escape the flames. And I wanted to ask you what you had heard about the boats being on fire and about that experience from people there.
Yeah, from what I've been told, that Lahaina Harbor is completely gone. It's completely burnt. Every single boat in the harbor has burnt. I'm also hearing, and again, we're still working on confirmation from this, but I've heard the Pioneer Inn, which is a historic building on Front Street, has burned. The banyan tree, everyone knows that historic banyan tree in West Maui. I heard that went up in flames, that burnt. I spoke with the captain of a boat. Her boat also burnt, but she said that she was actually able to take a dinghy out to the water, and because of these strong winds, she was actually drifted and found a boat in the middle of the ocean to get onto, so she was safe. And even though she was trapped in the middle of the ocean, she tells me she feels that was the safest place for her to be on. And she just watched her town of Lahaina go up in flames. She said in all of Front Street, it just, as we've been saying, unrecognizable, just complete devastation. She talked about those people in the water, people literally running into the ocean, jumping into the ocean, trying to escape the fire, escape the smoke, just get to safety. She actually herself plucked those people out of the water. She tells me it was about 50 of them that she brought out of the water onto her boat so that they could be safe with her last night.
Yeah, we know there are several people out there still doing some dangerous and yet important work in these very trying times, and a lot of that is volunteer, a lot of that is part of their job.
Steve,
and that
Grace,
includes
did I
you,
lose
Chelsea.
you?
Yeah, that includes you, Chelsea. So please just stay safe. That press conference, by the way, is coming up at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Some of that devastating video and some new video that we got in. First, we want to show you some of the most dramatic video. We want to give you a warning, though. This is really scary to watch, especially if you have friends or family on Lahaina, on Maui. This gives you an idea of what some of those people in Lahaina were going through. We've been gathering images and viewers' videos like this. These people fleeing for their lives, trying to get out of Lahaina as that fire raced down the mountain toward the town and Front Street, eventually jumping over there.
And this is something that you would expect to see somewhere in like Northern California or something like that.
Yeah, and so some of those people left Front Street, jumped into the ocean to avoid being covered over by this fire, burned alive. The Coast Guard deployed a rescue helicopter. They had a boat out there trying to yank people out of the water and make sure they were okay. Absolutely devastating scene. Again, brings some really disturbing images to mind. And these are more videos from the area as that fire swept through, emergency crews trying to get people out. We want to report this. We do know from our partners at CNN, they were able to speak with a representative from the Baldwin House. It's one of the many historic structures. You heard Chelsea Davis talk a little bit about that big banyan tree that so many people know and love. The Baldwin House, another one of those structures in Lahaina that burned to the ground. That's what we're hearing through this wildfire. The Lahaina Foundation, Restoration Foundation, says multiple museums have burned. We don't have details exactly on how many, but we've also been getting some new sound into the newsroom. Take a listen.
It happened so fast. I've never been in any environment where I could be around a fire like that. We were just sitting at home kind of having a Hawaiian snow day is what we call it. And then we see the fire. When the fire started, I heard the first explosions of the gas stations exploding. And then I saw the black smoke a couple streets away. And within half an hour, we were out the door.
And you see how quickly those winds are whipping that smoke. This is another person that we talked to who lost their home. Take a listen as they really captured this moment and viewed the destruction firsthand.
Well, there's my house.
That was Pat Grady who sent that in. Really, just devastating. Some of those people, Billy, are not even able to process this because it's so fresh and it's so hard. Because, as you said, these are images that we see come in from the mainland, from California, from the Northwest, those devastating fires. But this happened in Little Lahaina town, and we have no information yet on any fatalities. But you heard the governor earlier say that he'd be surprised if we didn't have to report that today. We certainly hope not, but we are going to bring you the latest information. Billy, why don't you take over, because there's a lot more to talk about on the island of Maui.
Yeah, you talk about the firefighters that are out there. So close to 100 firefighters been on duty, including 11 from state airport firefighting rescue personnel. Let's go ahead and show you or tell you about some of the places that they are working in. Once again, if you're trying to call, though, anybody in West Maui, you may have some difficulties. Communications, once again, not working on landlines. Some of the cell sites have been damaged that we've heard. 911 not working in West Maui, so if you need emergency help, text to 911. At this hour, other than Lahaina, there is an active fire situation up in upcountry Maui. South Maui and Kihei have been given the all clear. Also, residents of Kapolei Gulf Estates have been given the all clear to return as well. People that were at the Kihei Community Center shelter were moved to Maui High School last night, where they have more than 1,200 people and is pretty full at this point. People at the Maui Preparatory Academy shelter were also given the option to go to Kahului as well.
Yeah. And there's, the concern over finding loved ones. I'm not sure how much time we have before we want to get ready for that press conference coming up at 10. But, Billy, the Red Cross, you said 1-800 Red Cross. That is where you want to call if you're trying to find a loved one. Chelsea had some great advice. Change your voicemail greeting to say, hey, this is so-and-so, I'm okay, this is where I'm locating. But we are not out of the woods yet as far as the severe weather. Guy Hagi has a look at what we can expect for the rest of the day. Will there be any relief?
Not just yet, Casey. The firefighters still face an uphill battle because we still are facing similar conditions to when the fire started, in that it's very dry out there, it's very windy, there's still a lot of fuel with low humidity levels. So whatever fires are out there could likely spread again and reignite those embers that were likely put out for some areas. So it's still a very, very volatile, dangerous situation with these winds. In the Ma'alaya area, they're still gusting to near 40 miles an hour, which is as strong as they were earlier this morning. And again, like we've been saying all morning long, rain would be the ultimate relief, but there's not much out there. Even the windward side has dried up. Of course, out in Lahaina, where the fires are burning still, they haven't gotten any rain and likely not going to get any rain. This is just some smoke from, from the fire. And also, we got fires burning in Kihei as well as in the upcountry area, and those areas are devoid of rain. Same for out near where the Mauna Kea fire is burning. It's very dry there as well. Lacey?
And Guy, for anyone trying to travel out of Lahaina over to the airport, just know that traffic is being allowed out of that area. The latest update from the Department of Transportation is they're asking drivers to use the bypass road or Kahekili Highway instead. You can see officers were there helping to direct traffic out of that area. Now, trying to get into West Maui, not being allowed. Here's the latest on the closures. According to Maui County, we have Kahekili Highway blocked off the Lahaina-bound lanes from Waihe'e. And then Honoapi'ilani Highway, we have two closure points. One is in Ma'alaya and the other in Kapalua. And of course, right in the Lahaina town, all roadways shut down. This is between Wahikuli Wayside Park to the north and Kaiheleku Street over to the south. Also tracking the multiple road closures in place in upcountry Maui. That includes a portion of Pulehu Road and Haleakala Highway. Steve, Grace, back over to you.
All right, thanks, Lacey. We know that firefighters continue to battle those multiple fires this morning. No containment, according to Maui officials. And we're just minutes away from a news conference to update us all on those wildfires, not only on Maui, but also on Hawaii Island.
We're going to get some answers. Acting Governor Sylvia Luke is going to be joined by the county mayors and other state officials on the extent of the impacts and how officials are currently responding. You can watch on all of our Hawaii News Now channels and across all of our digital platforms. So stay with us. We're going to be bringing you the continuous coverage with more information as we get it.
We'll continue to bring you coverage throughout the day on air and online. down by wildfires in that area that have been whipped up by Hurricane Dora. A disaster declaration has been issued. FEMA has approved funding of this. Now, in moments, we're going to be hearing from the acting governor. Governor Green right now is off island on personal vacation on his way back. But Lieutenant Governor and Acting Governor Sylvia Luke, as well as other top officials, including Maui's mayor, will be speaking and giving us an update.
Yeah, and again, multiple fires at this point. The one out in Lahaina is not contained at all. We got more information about that. We're going to get answers. Also, Governor Green tells us that he is returning from his personal trip. Currently, we're told 4,000 tourists are in the process of being evacuated from Maui to Oahu. And a lot to get to. So let's get right on over to Billy and Casey.
Yeah, and we want to start with Lahaina, which saw so much damage. And we just learned that the Baldwin House, that historic museum, that historic place in Lahaina town, was burned to the ground, one of the many structures lost. And we'll take a walk over here, Billy, because this is, just goes to show you, this is really one of the only live cameras. You know, I have such,
the only one.
We
on
have
Maui.
such a wealth of those live cameras that we love to show people in the morning. We've been trying to see what Lahaina looks like, but that just goes to show you that there is so much infrastructure that's down. Look at this video. I mean, imagine trying to drive through this. Imagine seeing your loved one post this as they're trying to flee for their lives and get to safety, find somewhere to find shelter. Absolutely horrifying video. Like we've been saying, you know, you see this on CNN, you see this when there's those big wildland fires on the mainland. I mean, have you ever seen, Billy, anything like this here in Hawaii?
Nothing like this. You know, we've experienced, you know, some things concerning fire with volcanic eruptions and things like that, but this is up close. This is, you feel the heat as you're driving through there. You're panicked. You don't know.
You can see that car burning out, yeah.
You know, you don't know what's around you. What's around you, even though you've driven it hundreds of times before, thousands of times before, nothing when you're trying to leave is recognizable.
Yeah, and so again, as we wait for Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke and the acting governor right now, as we said, that Josh Green, our governor, is returning from a trip that he had previously scheduled. I mean, you know, actually, as a matter of fact, I believe we are getting to see now the governor's office prepare. Let's go ahead and take that live right now from the state capitol as we prepare to hear from Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke and county
in the community
officials.
From Maui. He will be traveling to Maui tomorrow. He is deeply grateful for the leadership of Acting Governor Sylvia Luke. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Acting Governor, Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke.
You know, it is really with sadness and just heartache that we are at this press conference. You know, Governor Green and I have been talking very closely throughout the day yesterday as we monitor the situation, and we have spoken to both mayors several times throughout the night, and we have been working with not just the federal delegation, many of the state partners, many of the industry leaders, thanks to Adjutant General Hara and Haima. You know, the point is, a lot of residents in the state of Hawaii, when we are preparing for the hurricane, we expect rain. Sometimes we expect floods. We never anticipated in this state that a hurricane, which did not make impact on our islands, will cause this type of wildfires. Wildfires that wiped out communities, wildfires that wiped out businesses, wildfires that destroyed homes. We are learning and gathering information more and more, and we just feel so sad and just great sympathy and prayers out to the people of Maui, the individuals who are impacted. And Josh and I want to send our deepest gratitude to the mayors, both on Maui and the Big Island, for working so hard. They're both their teams, but at the same time, all of us are working very closely to ensure that the health and safety of our communities and members on all the islands are protected. Today, we signed another emergency proclamation, which will discourage tourists from going to Maui. Even as of this morning, planes were landing on Maui with tourists. This is not a safe place to be. On certain parts of Maui, we have shelters that are overrun. We have resources that are being taxed. We are doing whatever we can, and the state is providing whatever support that we can to give support to both Maui and to the Big Island. Governor Green is cutting his trip short. He is en route. He will be back midnight. He is cutting his trip by a week, and that tells you the magnitude of how grave we think the situation is. And we have been working all night to make sure that this situation is contained. We are thankful to the mayors, and we are grateful to the federal delegation. We have already reached out to FEMA, and they have generously provided support. And so we are just thankful for many support. But at the same time, please reach out to people. Anytime there's a disaster, anytime there's things like this that happen to our community, that shake our community. It's the community, and it's our families, and it's our people, it's our ohana that help each other. And this is a time we need help. We need to stand together. We need to be brave for each other. But at the same time, it's just with sadness and so we are just struck by the devastation felt on Maui.
Mahalo, Acting Governor Luke. At this time, I'd like to bring up Major General Ken Hara, Adjutant General of the Hawaii State Department of Defense.
Aloha and good morning. So Lieutenant Governor Green appointed me as the overall incident commander for the state for this incident. However, I just wanted to stress that in accordance with Hawaii Revised Statute 127 Alpha, that we are in support of the counties and they are the lead. It was very difficult because of the conditions last night, the high winds and the fire. We really don't have all of the details on exactly how many structures are damaged, but we do know, power is out, they're having problems with water. But I'll let the county share the details of each of the effects by island. We did get support from the active duty military providing helicopters to Hawaii County. And then I sent 2 helicopters over to Maui to do water bucket fire suppression missions, and an additional guardsman to assist with search and rescue, traffic control, and security. And then we're standing by, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, close coordination with FEMA for additional federal resources. Based on the request for our visitors to leave Maui, we worked with the Department of Business, Economic Development, Tourism, and the Hawaii Convention Center. So if there's anyone that's traveling off of Maui to Oahu and was not able to get a hotel room, they can get lodging at the convention center. We don't have any transportation laid out yet. We're working that logistics now, but if you can find your way to the convention center, we can provide you shelter there until you get follow-on transportation out of the state of Hawaii. If you need information on the website, so ready.hawaii.gov, and that's Hawaii spelled out, ready.hawaii.gov is the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency's website that you can get all of the current information, and that'll be the core site for you to get the accurate information. And then the phone number is 808-733-4300. And again, 808-733-4300. But we are in coordination working with our airline partners to try to get more flights with the hotels so they can get rooms. So if any of the visitors would like to stay in a hotel as opposed to the convention center, and then as a last resort, the convention center. Thank you.
Mahalo, Major General Hara. At this time, I'd like to turn your attention to the screen electronically. And joining us today is Mayor Richard Bisson with Maui County.
Aloha, kapaiaka kako. I would like to first thank the Lieutenant Governor as well as the Adjutant General for arranging this joint press conference. We know there's lots of interest in what's going on in our county, and I'd like to update everyone. As a result of 3 fires that have occurred that are continuing here on our island, we have had 13 evacuations from different neighborhoods and towns. We've had 16 road closures. We've opened 5 shelters. And we've, as a result of that, our west side of our island, Lahaina area was cut off. Only one road was able to be traveled in and out. Power was out to 2,628 vehicles customers. There was no power at our hotels or even at the shelters that we opened out on that side. I'm sad to report that just before coming on this, it was confirmed we've had 6 fatalities that we were able to confirm. And we are still in a search and rescue mode. And so I don't know what will happen to that number. We've had many dwellings, businesses, structures that have been burnt, many of them to the ground, mostly in our Lahaina neighborhoods in our Lahaina area. We've had also, I should have added, multiple school closures. We are grateful to the DOE for allowing us to use their facilities here in Maui County to be able to house folks. We have over 2,100 people in shelters. Within those shelters I mentioned to you, and several that are unaccounted for in the sense that they are in their cars and did not come into the actual shelter. We are grateful, again, for the assets that have been sent over to us by the state, our federal partners, our county partners and allies. We are grateful for the outpouring of assistance. At this time, we are continuing the battle of fire. We now have helicopters that were unable to get up in the air yesterday that are now using water drops to help suppress the fire. That's the latest information from Maui County. Thank you again for allowing us to address you.
Mahalo, Mayor Bisson. At this time, I'd like to turn your attention virtually to Mayor Mitch Roth from Hawaii County.
Aloha. I too would like to thank the Lieutenant Governor as well as the Adjutant General for having this press conference today. Hawaii Island, we had 3 to 5 fires depending on how you count them. Right now, we are still battling 3 of those. Lalamilo fire is pretty much well contained. The Akunipule fire, we have some containment on there. However, we do still have firefighters out there, and we're still kind of hesitant to say we have it completely under control. The Akunipule Highway is still closed from mile marker 6 to 17. As far as the Mauna Kea Resort area fire, that is still being actively fought right now. I have just got word before going on that they have just opened the Queen Kahumanu Highway that was closed. So we're still going in that area. Still caution people, we're still under a red flag warning. And we see that with winds coming up, it's very possible for flames to get sent out from places where we think we almost have things put out. But right now, firefighters are out there working. We have our shelters open, Isoka Gym, as well as Waimea Community Center. I believe at this time, those shelters are empty. We appreciate all the support that people have given to us. We especially appreciate the teamwork that we've received from our firefighters, federal partners, our military at PTA, National Guard, a lot of our private contractors who have been out there, state DLNR for the DOFA, and others who have just reached out to help. We're so thankful for that. But at this time, our thoughts and our prayers are with Maui, and we're not out of the woods yet, but I think the situation in Maui right now should take precedence over us, and we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Mahalo, Mayor Roth. At this time, I'd like to bring up Director Ed Sniffen with the Hawaii State Department of Transportation.
Hello, everybody. Absolutely horrific situation that we're trying to work through right now, and really hearts and prayers go out to Maui County. We are strongly discouraging non-essential travel to Maui, but the airports are still operating efficiently. Right now, last night we had 2,000 people staying over at the airport who got stuck either on the, because they couldn't get on the red eye or they were waiting for other flights to come in. We made sure that we processed them through this morning. We're working with our airline partners on all of that. There's another 4,000 visitors that we're expecting who want to leave the island from the west side. So Kahikili Highway is open on the back road to make sure that you can come from Lahaina or the west side into town to get to Kahului. And the Honopilani Highway and the bypass are closed for operational or emergency responders only at this time. There's just a lot of poles down in different areas, fires jumping in different spots, and it's dangerous to utilize that roadway. But Kahili's open. We expect everybody to use that to get into town, into the airport area. Our airport partners are absolutely amazing. You'll see that they've dropped fares and offered waivers to a lot of travelers to help everybody get off of Maui, to make sure that we can move people over to Oahu or get them back home, whichever they'd like, to ensure that we can start using the resources to recover and focus on the residents of Maui in that area. We'll keep updating on our web pages the accessibility of all of our highways and if any impacts occur at the airports. I would recommend to everybody, anytime we have travel like this that's impacted on one island, it's going to impact others. So before you head down to the airport, if you're going to travel anywhere, before you head down to the airport, make sure you check in with your airlines, check in on the status of your flight to ensure that it's on time. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, Director Sniffen. Finally, I'd like to bring up Director Jimmy Tokioka with the State Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Good morning. As everyone has said, it's an incredibly sad day today. We've seen the devastation. We can compare it, coming from Kauai to Iniki, but the difference is nobody was prepared for this. You could see the hurricane coming. So I want to ask that as the administration, we're communicating with all of the people involved, from the federal government to the state government to the counties. But to the visitors who are watching this and looking for answers, we're going to ask for your patience because this is a stressful time. None of us were prepared for this, but we're preparing very well for this, and General Hara is at the command, so we have the confidence that he's handled these situations before. In my role, we are preparing the convention center. And early this morning, even prior to the proclamation for support at the convention center, we set it up to potentially accommodate 4,000 people. They're cooking food, their preparations are there, the Red Cross is going over and setting all of that up. But it is a tall task. The city buses will be transporting people from the airport to the convention center, and we are working right now with the airport and the city to accommodate that transportation for the visitors that are coming. But I also want to say it's not only for the visitors. Local people have lost everything. They've lost their house, they've lost their animals, and it's devastating. So we also are reaching out to local people that the shelters on Maui may be full, so you may not have an option, but you do have an option here on Oahu at the convention center. So we wanted to make sure that you knew that. I particularly want to thank at the convention center, Kalani Ka'ana'ana and Daniel Naho'opili and Terry Orton for accommodating this. I don't think Kalani slept yet since we got the calls last night. And we also want to thank Jerry Gibson from the Hotel Association. We will have booths set up there that will tell and inform guests that are coming what the hotel status is, what the rate is, and the hotels that have occupancy. So on behalf of DBED and Hawaii Tourism Authority, once again, it's a sad day, but we thank everyone for the cooperation. Aloha and mahalo.
Mahalo. At this time, we'll open up for live Q&A with the media. And I'm going to repeat the question. I'm inviting Acting Governor Sylvia Luke up, but either she or I will repeat the question so that everybody can understand. So the first question is going to go to star advertiser Dan Nicasso.
Thanks, Pecan. Questions for Mayor Bisson.
Okay.
Do you have an estimate of injuries and of the 6 fatalities? Were they drowning or were they fire related?
Before you answer, Mayor, the question is around, do we have an update on fatalities and injuries on Maui County?
And how did the deaths occur? Were they fire related or ocean related, drowning?
Right.
You know, I don't have the specifics for those 6 confirmed fatalities that we have. And that was because I got that number just really literally the minute before we came on to this press conference. We've been trying to get that update. This morning was the first time we were able to assess, obviously during daylight hours, what was happening, and so that's based on that. As far as injuries, we've had a few injuries. Some, I think we sent folks to Straub. I'm trying to think, there were about maybe 6 or so. Not all were burn related, 3 of them were. And we also had a firefighter that suffered smoke inhalation. That firefighter was also treated and I believe transported over to a hospital over on Oahu, but is in stable condition. So we did have some injuries as well.
Follow-up, or are you good?
Thanks, Pecan. I'm good.
Acting Governor, the next question comes from Chloe with KITV, and if you could just repeat her question.
Okay.
Yes, this is for Mayor Bisson. Do we have an estimate on the number of businesses and homes that have been impacted?
The question.
I'm sorry. Sorry, you want to repeat the question?
The question is how many businesses have been impacted?
We don't have that exact number just yet. Again, we're still in the assessment phase this morning now that we have light. So I don't want to take a guess at the number, but it's going to be a high number. Again, power is still out in that part of the island. There were 29 poles, 30 poles that were down, 29 in Lahaina itself, and so we have not yet been able to restore that to get a better idea. And the fire is still going on in Lahaina.
Okay. Our next question comes from Kate Joanne Manolo Morales.
Hi, this is for General Hara and or Mayor Bisson. We're hearing from residents about the fatalities, that there's the possibility of a lot more than that, and also about some people dying in their cars. I don't know if that's been reported to you at all, or is that something you're looking into?
Again, the question is relating to the details of the fatalities and the injuries.
I guess I'll go first, and then General Howard could follow. Again, Manolo, I would say to you that we don't have any confirmation of those. There were lots of people putting things out at social media. We have not yet had a chance to confirm some of that, but we are still in that phase of gathering that information.
Manolo, I have nothing to add to that. I mean, everything is really fluid and dynamic, right? They're doing the search and rescue and assessment as we speak. So we're relying on the counties to provide us the information.
Okay. Our next question comes from Chad Blair with Civil Beat.
Thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you said you're in constant contact with the governor. Is he listening in right now, and is he reachable when he's in the air? I assume he is.
He is en route, and he just boarded. He texted me right before he boarded. So it depends on the airlines if they can have text services. But we have been in constant communication throughout the night. We have been in communication with Mayor Bisson's office, and I don't think neither he or myself and many of the team slept. Excuse me.
Sorry, and then I believe McConnell said that the governor is en route, is expected back tonight and going to Maui tomorrow. Where is the governor coming from?
The governor is coming from Boston. He will be landing at midnight. I'm very thankful to the governor for cutting his his trip short by a week. That tells you the seriousness of this incident, and we are working very closely, and we've been in constant communication with the entire team. Thank you.
Our next question comes from Maui News. What is the extent of the damage in Lahaina? Do we know the number of buildings burned and which neighborhoods were affected?
Okay. Maui News wants to know the extent of the damage of the property and property damage. If Mayor Bisson, if you have a response.
Yeah, it's impossible to know that number right now without having done an assessment. And again, we are still, our main focus right now is to save lives and to preserve lives. Our secondary, of course, is to try to save as much property as possible. And I know the fire department, they work in 24-hour shifts. We had a shift on. Our first fire was at 12 a.m. yesterday. So it's been going on for over 24 hours. So that we have a second shift of firefighters that are on duty now. And what I guess I'm getting at is that because the fires are not out yet, we do not have a number or a total that we can give right now.
One of the things that we have worked on is we have communicated with the White House. We have communicated with FEMA. FEMA will help with the assessment of the damage, and we will be working very closely with the two senators present here.
I want to make sure we give Maui some aloha. They have a number of questions, so I want to prioritize them. Normally, we are very Oahu-centric in our media, and so one more follow-up with Maui News. Why are cell phones and landlines still down in Lahaina, and is there any idea on when service might be restored?
Okay, the question is why are mobile service and cell service and internet down, and when do we expect the services to be brought on board? Mayor?
As I mentioned, because of the strong winds, 29 of those utility poles are down, and we are trying to restore power. I also understand fiber optics were also devastated in the fires. I can't speak to satellite and how that technology works, but anything that was on the ground that assisted in getting any kind of communication has been burnt or partially burnt or destroyed. So I would say that's the explanation.
And the only way we have been able to communicate with the west side was through satellite service. We are in communication with the various providers to get connection back up.
We've also been using radios and not phones. We've been using radios with our different departments, police department, fire department, and our county departments are all on radios, not cell phones. And we also have some satellite phones that have also been utilized.
You can add some stuff. Hi, this is General Howard again. So I just wanted to stress again what the mayor had mentioned earlier. Right now, the priority is for saving lives, preventing human suffering, and then mitigating great property loss. And then there was the order to evacuate the area. We're going to be working with the communication companies. They have a capability called Cell on Wheels that can provide cellular service. But because the fiber optic cable was damaged and that needs to be assessed, we think that could take over a month to get repaired.
Our next question comes from Mahialani Richardson with Hawaii News Now.
Aloha, Mayor Bisson. This question is for you. We have heard early reports and people who have flown over the Lahaina area that it looks like a bomb went off. Have you seen these reports? What does it look like to you? And what can you say to people who are truly traumatized by this devastation?
So Mahealani is asking that there were reports that it sounded like a bomb went off, and it looked like a bomb, and what assurances can we give to the residents?
I think this is a truly devastating experience for everyone that has gone through it. Some people closer than others have witnessed this, which is why we do want to offer mental health services for for our community and trauma-related, care. I have not yet seen the photos, and that's simply because I have been in meetings and/or press conferences like these since I've been in or back in this morning, and I am aware. I was told as to what some of that damage was, or I was told which areas have been burnt to the ground, and I'm very, very familiar with these areas, and so I'm aware, and I agree with you that this is devastating to our community. This is a time for us to come together. This is a time for us to care for each other in our county, and again, accept the generous assistance that is being offered by our federal, our state, and our county and private partners. We will rebuild, and we will again support each other.
Our next question is going to come from Maui News. There are more evacuations happening south of Lahaina town. Is there a risk the fire could spread to Olowalu and Ma'alaya?
Is there a risk of fire spreading to other parts of the community as we evacuate Lahaina?
Yeah, the last briefing I received was at 7 a.m. this morning, and then there was a meeting at 8, and then we've been on this. So I don't know if the wind has changed direction. But what I will say is we have more assets that are able to bring more water drops to the affected areas. Some of this may be out of precaution. The fire has, in certain locations, jumped the road and gone from Makai to Mauka, and so I think we are trying to be as cautious as possible, but I don't know any other explanations why there are additional evacuations.
Any other reporters from news stations or friends? May have a question? Yep. Okay, stand by. Next question comes from Dan Acosta with Honolulu Star Advertiser.
Mayor Bisson, do you have any updates on either containment or control of any of the fires?
Yeah, the question is there a update on containment or control of the wildfires?
We, as of this morning, we have not yet contained the Kula fire, which is about 1,100 acres, rough estimate. I know we've not yet contained that. The Lahaina Luna fire, the fire in Lahaina, continues to have flare-ups, and that is not yet under control. And then there is also a fire in the Kihei area, Mauka of Pi'ilani Highway near the Pulehu Road, if you're familiar with Maui. And again, that we are continuing to battle that fire.
Our next question comes from Manolo Morales with KHON2.
Hi, this is for Lieutenant Governor or General Hara. Can you comment at all with resources as far as help from other counties? It sounds like it's sort of an all-hands-on-deck situation.
No, absolutely. One of the things that we did yesterday in cooperation with General Hara, we issued an emergency proclamation. One of the things that the emergency proclamation does is to trigger the major disaster fund. This allows the governor the ability to access funds within state government to deploy. So this is a situation where we are still assessing the damage, whether it's property damage or additional assistance to Maui for whether for medical services or other health and safety needs. This is not going to be a short journey. It's going to take weeks and maybe months to assess the food damage, and the state will provide whatever assistance. You can already see that City and County of Honolulu is working with us to provide transportation services from the airport to the convention center. Big Island, in spite of the fact that they are also suffering from wildfires, is opening up its homes to allow for Maui residents to be able to live there. And we are just so, and Kauai has also offered help. So this is basically the entire state coming together to assist our ohana and family on Maui.
And so Lieutenant Governor covered what the counties are providing support, and Hawaii County Mayor offered this morning saying, do you have capacity in their hotels as well? And they welcome visitors that want to stay in their hotels. FEMA is deploying an incident management assistant team, so help us to do our request for federal resources, so that's much appreciated. And I'll share with you what the military is providing. So the active duty 25th Combat Aviation Brigade out of Schofield provided 2 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters. They have 6,600 gallon water buckets to support with fire suppression. And in addition to that, a CH-47 Chinook, that's a large one with the 2 big rotor blades, that has a 2,000 gallon water bucket. And they have an additional CH-47 on standby here on Oahu. If conditions warrant, they'll be dispatched more than likely to Maui. For Maui, the Hawaii National Guard dispatched 2 CH-47 Chinook helicopters. One landed just after 9 o'clock this morning and is already in coordination with the fire department. And the second one is set to go. In addition to the water bucket support, the second CH-47 is providing a unit called an Enhanced Emergency Response Force Package. And they're specially trained to do search and rescue. It's a combination either wide area search and rescue and then confined space urban search and rescue. It's a very technical team. So they're being deployed to Maui as well. Thank you.
Again, prioritizing our neighbor island outlets, specifically Maui. Maui now, what are firefighting resources like in West Maui and upcountry? Do we have enough crews, equipment, and water?
Okay, so the question is, what are the needs of the firefighting crew on Maui, and do they have enough resources?
Well, I can tell you that we did not anticipate having these many fires simultaneously. So we have drawn our assets from every place on the island except for Hana. And they have, as I said, worked in shifts. So we have a new shift on now. I think we have also reached out to other helpers. I know we had DOFA. I think they contributed another 28 personnel yesterday. I know we've had, again, offers from federal, the park rangers here at the Haleakala National Park have offered assistance. And I believe we are also talking with our military and other counties. I don't have a count for you to say that. We've used all of our equipment, including the airport. I should have mentioned the airport firefighters have also offered their personnel and their equipment to us as well. I think a big thing that was hampering us yesterday is because of the high winds, we were not able to get the helicopters in the air. It was not safe for them to do water drops. Apparently, as of this morning, that situation has improved, and so I think that will be, and in addition to the CH-47s that General Hara spoke of which he sent, one has arrived and another is on its way. I think this will give us, will support our ground troops to try to battle these. So that's the best I can give you right now. Updates.
Our next question comes again from Manolo Morales, KHON2.
Somebody was asking us about Kula Hospital, and I don't know if Mayor Bissett can answer this. Has that been evacuated? We have people trying to get a hold of patients there and can't reach them.
Okay, as Kula Hospital been evacuated, people are trying to reach patients at Kula Hospital.
Not to my knowledge. The Kula Hospital is located more in the direction of Ulupalakua, for those of you familiar with Maui. And I think the farthest evacuation we did was somewhere around Kimo Drive, which is quite a distance away from the hospital. So, yeah, I'm not aware of any evacuation from Kula Hospital.
Let me just see if Maui Health is on Zoom. Let me see if they are aware.
Yes, Mayor Bisson is correct. We have not evacuated any patients from Kula Hospital. We did lose power, but we have generator power and we have enough diesel for about a week, and the same for water. So right now there's no imminent threat to Kula Hospital.
Let me just follow up on your behalf. The question also is, people are trying to contact patients at Kula Hospital. Are you having difficulties in the connection, and how do people get in touch with patients at Kula Hospital?
We had not heard that there were connection issues related to Kula Hospital, but we do have a call-in number that if they need to reach out to us and they're having a hard time connecting with one of the patients, that they can call the hospital directly and we can connect people. There's also an employee hotline for all of our staff if they have any questions, and I can provide those numbers after the press conference.
Thank you. And it could be a situation where, during a significant portion of the night, 911 services were down, in addition to a lot of a significant number of residents and people who are concerned trying to get in touch with their family members. So it may have led to individuals not being able to get through to their destination.
Our final question comes from Xinhua, a news agency. Everyone is interested in helping. What efforts have been made to coordinate churches and charitable entities, and who can they contact?
So everyone is trying to be helpful. I think that's what makes Hawaii really special. Even during the volcano eruption, the community came together and helped. And even our office, we received so many individuals who called and just wanted to help. I think with that, Haima is coordinating a centralized effort. Please contact Haima. If I can invite General Hara up to state the number that you can call.
Yeah, so that's correct. If anyone wants to donate anything or even volunteer support, contact the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. That was the website I put out earlier. So again, it's ready.hawaii.gov, ready.hawaii.gov, or 808-733-4300. Again, 808-733-4300. Thanks.
General, may I also offer a number for those who are listening to this from Maui in particular?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
So Daryl Takeda, Takeda, is an emergency management specialist that we have assigned as our point of contact on Maui. His phone number is 808-270-7285. 808-270-7285. Daryl will be coordinating any folks who want to volunteer, whether it's food or water, meals, transportation, medical supplies, housing, shelter, anything along those lines. Daryl will make sure that gets to the right person. But he's our overall point of contact on the island of Maui, or the county of Maui. Mahalo.
One more question. Dan Nakaso, Honolulu Star Advertiser.
Mayor Bisson or General Hara, is there any reason to know, or do you know what caused all these fires?
Dan wants to know what the cause was for the fires. I think General Hara can answer that if it's not. Mayor Bisson?
From our end, yeah. we have not begun the investigation part. We are still in the battling the fire part.
Yeah, so we don't know what actually ignited the fires, but we were made aware in advance from the National Weather Service that we were in a red flag situation. So that's dry conditions for a long time. So the fuel the trees and everything was dry, so that was there. Low humidity, and the third one was the high winds. So because of all three conditions, which is still in effect as we speak, that set the conditions for the wildfires.
Okay. As you can see, a tremendous amount of individuals spent all night, all day yesterday trying to work towards the safety and security of the residents of Maui, residents of the Big Island. We can't thank these people enough for spending so much of their resources and time to care for others. We are hearing more and more tragic news. We're hearing more and more devastation coming out of Maui. This is really a time for us to really put together. That's what Hawaii does best. I think if you can donate your resources, please reach out to both Haima, please reach out to Maui. They need all the help they can get. This is time for us, our prayers. This is time for us to think and keep them in our hearts and prayers. And so just mahalo to everyone. And the media has done a tremendous amount of service by helping us disseminate this information. A lot of the information could not be provided because of lack of connectivity to the west side. And, as you can see, both mayors have spent all night trying to provide services and needed items to the island residents. So as more things get deployed, there are concerns about potential riots. There are concerns about, people not having aloha. This is really time for us to have aloha and patience, and as we work towards this disaster together. So mahalo for being here.
It seems now the press conference has come to an end, but lots of information there, possibly the heaviest bit of that being Maui Mayor Richard Bisson confirming fatalities, though he didn't have any details as to what happened to those individuals. A firefighter did suffer smoke inhalation as well. Governor Green told us that there were 20 burn victims at Maui Memorial and 20 at Straub on Oahu. 3 of those, we have confirmed, are in critical condition.
Now, they did confirm 3 fires burning, including the one in Lahaina, not contained at this hour. Mayor Bisson said 1,100 acres have burned in Kula, that's up country, and we're watching 3 fires on Hawaii Island as well. Visitors and residents who are affected can come to Oahu to stay at the Hawaii Convention Center. There are also hotel rooms available. 4,000 people are expected to go to that shelter at the convention center. It's now being prepared.
Yeah, Mayor Bisson also confirmed that cell phones are down on West Maui because 29 utility poles are down, destroying communication lines. And that includes power and fiber optics for Wi-Fi. Those fiber optics could be up to a month for repair. And officials say basically anything and everything on the ground that was in place to help with communication has been burned and destroyed.
Yeah, that's how devastating it is. Now, Governor Green is expected to return tonight to Hawaii around midnight from Boston. He told us he believes that the damage estimate from these fires is going to be in the billions of dollars. He has asked for federal emergency support and is asking neighbors to help neighbors because we expect thousands of people to be displaced for weeks.
Yeah, still no word as to what may have caused that fire. As officials say, I believe was Mayor Bisson, they're still in the saving lives mode, not the investigation. By the way, Hawaii News Now is utilizing all of our resources to cover this breaking news on Maui and Hawaii Island. So look for continuing coverage on air. This is now at noon.
And of course, we're going to have the very latest information on all of our digital platforms. Remember to have your HNN app ready so we can send safety alerts directly to your phone.
Yeah, for now, we're going to go on a short break and stay tuned for our regularly scheduled programming immediately after that. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.